You probably know that food allergies can cause serious reactions, but did you know that food sensitivities can quietly wreak havoc in your health too? These hidden sensitivities can lead to symptoms like brain fog, bloating, and fatigue, yet they often go unnoticed. So today we're going to dive into the difference between food allergies and sensitivities, why sensitivities matter, and how to uncover hidden foods that might be sabotaging your health. Welcome back. If you're new here, my name is 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐞, and I help you optimize your brain health so you can feel calm, focused, and productive every day. But first, I want to let you know that I am dropping 2 videos a week, Monday and Thursday, so make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell. All right, so food allergies and food sensitivities are both immune responses, but they're very different in how they impact the body. Understanding the difference is key to recognizing how food sensitivities can affect your health in more subtle yet significant ways. So a food allergy, this is involved in immediate immune reaction, so typically mediated by an IgE antibody. That's an allergic reaction that can be life-threatening and cause symptoms like hives, swelling, difficulty breathing, anaphylaxis. These are reactions that are usually obvious and occur shortly after eating the trigger food, or let's say you get stung by a bee. I mean, if you have an allergy to something, you're going to have an immediate response, and you're going to know, and that is IgE antibody. A food sensitivity, these are delayed immune responses. They often, they're going to involve more the IgG or other pathways, and it can take hours or even days to show symptoms. So it could be even like 2 days later, I think even up to 72 hours for some. So they're harder to pinpoint, and they often lead to chronic low-grade inflammation. Unlike allergies, food sensitivities don't produce an immediate dramatic reaction, but their effects can accumulate over time, impacting your digestion, brain function, energy levels, and overall well-being. More of that like chronic immune response or chronic inflammation. Food sensitivities can quietly disrupt your body in multiple ways, often mimicking or exacerbating the other health issues. Because symptoms are subtle or delayed, many people live with them for years without even realizing that they have them. So one thing would be like brain fog. So chronic inflammation triggered by food sensitivities can affect the brain, leading to poor focus, memory lapses, and a sense of mental cloudiness. Bloating and digestive issues. So foods that your body can't tolerate can irritate the gut lining, disrupt digestion, and contribute to symptoms like bloating, gas, even diarrhea or constipation. And not to mention, it can, because it's irritating the gut lining, then it can contribute to leaky gut, which then the proteins go through your gut, and it's actually causing like just a vicious cycle, because now more things can get through your gut and stimulate your immune system, so you can develop more sensitivities over time. Fatigue, the immune system's response to trigger foods can drain your energy, leaving you feel tired or sluggish even after a full night's sleep. Skin issues, sensitivities can manifest as eczema, acne, or other inflammatory skin conditions. And joint pain, low-grade inflammation from sensitivities can affect the joints, mimicking conditions like arthritis. One of the biggest challenges with food sensitivities is that they are not immediately obvious. Unlike allergies, they're going to produce rapid and dramatic symptoms. Sensitivities can take hours and days to manifest, and it can make it difficult to connect them to specific foods. They have a delayed onset, 24 to 72 hours after consuming a trigger food. Cumulative effects, sensitivities can build up over time, causing more noticeable symptoms only after repeated exposure. There's hidden ingredients. Many trigger foods are present in small amounts in processed products, making it even harder to identify the sources, because sometimes ingredients that are on the label are a mixture of other ingredients, and then you don't know what they are, which is why you should just, when you can, cook your own food so you know exactly what goes in it. Sensitivities can vary obviously from person to person. Some foods are more likely to cause issues than others due to their composition or prevalence in diets. And sometimes also what's one man's medicine is another man's poison. It's not like a blanket statement, but there are some things that are common, like triggers or things that people can be sensitive to. Gluten. Gluten is found in wheat, barley, rye, and other things. It's basically kind of in everything. It's in like sauces. They even, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, be aware they put gluten in rice, or they maybe a good one because they want to make it stickier, so you need to ask the chef if they're doing that or not. I'm not saying they all do, but they often do. It's in like your soy sauces. It's almost in everything. You need to buy brands if you know that you're sensitive to gluten. It's different than celiac. Celiac, it will cause, like, it's an autoimmune thing, and it'll cause a flare that will take forever to get out of one little. If you are sensitive to gluten, small amounts can also trigger immune reactions. It's not to the point of celiac, but over time it could develop into celiac, so you have to be careful. So you have to do your homework on what gluten, whatever. But the thing is also too, if you start to do your research, you might find that it's not just really the gluten, because why can we go to Europe? Like, why can people who have strong gluten sensitivities go to Europe and eat their bread just fine? Because it's the type of wheat or gluten, theirs is not contaminated with glyphosate. Is it really the gluten or is it the glyphosate? And there's a lot of debate on that as well. So realize that all of your wheat products in the US, I mean, most of them, if they're not organic, it's sprayed with glyphosate. A lot of them are GMO'd. If you want to get the acorn or some of the ancient grains, those are going to be safer. So just know that there is a spectrum, and it's not like gluten. And there's a bunch of proteins for gluten too, that if you did a gluten sensitivity test, it's not just one thing. There's like a bunch of different gluten proteins. So note that as well. Dairy is another common culprit. It's casein and lactose in dairy products are common culprits for inflammation, digestive discomfort. Also, dairy can trigger the limbic system, the emotional system of the brain. If you have emotional issues, if you have a child who has issues with periodic rage or different kind of emotions, then you might want to consider removing dairy. If you get runny noses and congestion, dairy can also be a culprit, as well as reflux is usually linked to dairy. Soy, often hidden in processed foods. So soy can trigger sensitivities in some individuals. Eggs, while highly nutritious, egg whites in particular can be a trigger for some people. And corn is a very typical one. It's found in many processed foods. Corn and corn syrup, they kind of overdo corn, which is one of the things too, is you can develop sensitivities to things that you eat too much. And a lot of that has to do with how tight your gut is. So if your gut is nice and strong, it's going to be different. But if you have a weak, leaky gut and you're eating a lot of the same foods, you're probably going to develop a sensitivity to it anyway. But corn also has a high propensity for fungus in the corn, because, or mold, I shouldn't say, maybe not fungus, but mold, because the husks, and it gets wet inside and it gets trapped. So there's a lot of mold spores around corn. So you just kind of need to be aware of that when you're buying your food or realizing that. Okay, so if you suspect food sensitivities are affecting your health, there are steps that you can take to identify and address them. And like I say, one man's medicine is another man's poison. You can be sensitive to peas. You can be sensitive to, whatever appears to be healthy. So just because it's a healthy food doesn't mean that you can't have a sensitivity to it. So first, you can do an elimination diet. I would just really highly suggest this. You should remove common trigger foods. Anything that you suspect, this is probably not great, remove it for at least 10 days, about 10 days. It takes 10 days of 100% removal for everything to leave your system except for gluten. Gluten takes about 3 months to 6 months, which is why it is difficult, but everything else takes 10 days. And then you gradually introduce them one at a time, and you monitor symptoms for about 2 to 3 days. Don't try to put more than one thing back in, because then you won't know what it is. And make sure you allow enough space in between to make sure that you have enough time to see. And we're talking about sometimes you just kind of don't feel right, but give yourself 3 days before you introduce something else. You can do food sensitivity testing. There are blood tests that measure IgG levels that can provide clues. They aren't always definitive. Different tests do it slightly different ways. There are tests that are better than others, but you can also look at your results, look at your picture. Let's say shrimp is on there. You're like, I never eat shrimp. I guess I don't have to worry about that, but make sure that if it's on there, and okay, one thing to know is if you have a food that is on there that you don't eat, there's probably something that you do eat that has a similar protein in it, and you might want to look that up. I wonder what shrimp is, what it's like, and because that can happen too. And if it's something that you eat all the time, it might just be a sign that you're eating too much of it. If you have a Christmas tree, because the results are green, yellow, red. Green's when the OK zone, yellow, and then there's a higher green, almost yellow, and then a higher yellow, almost red. If your thing is lit up like a Christmas tree, what I would suggest is really just focus on your gut, because the gut is the issue more than the foods. But take out the reds, take out the green, the yellows, give your immune a break, try to repair your gut, and then you can put some of those back in. And also anything that's red, if you do a test, anything that's red, take out for 6 months. Anything that's yellow, take out for 3 months. Give your immune system a pretty big break. Then you can also do gut healing protocols. Many sensitivities, like I said, are linked to gut health issues and leaky gut. Addressing the underlying gut inflammation can reduce or eliminate sensitivities. Read your labels. Carefully check food labels for hidden ingredients like gluten, soy, or dairy, especially in processed products. So managing your food symptoms isn't just about avoiding the triggers, it's about restoring your body's balance. So you do want to avoid the triggers, right? But you want to be able to not have to avoid them for the rest of your life. If you can restore the balance of your body, then it can handle occasional exposures more effectively, or eventually you probably can just go ahead and eat them. Support gut health. Use probiotics and prebiotics and gut lining or gut healing foods like bone broth to strengthen intestinal lining. Bone broth has a lot of glycine, and glycine is really good for healing the gut. There's a lot of different foods and supplements that you can take to heal that lining. Reduce inflammation, so incorporate anti-inflammatory foods like turmeric and omega-3 fatty acids and leafy greens into your diet. So some things, we want to take out what's triggering. Some things are maybe going to be neutral to us or maybe slightly inflammatory, but we want to put in as much things that will go in the other direction as possible. And then also stay hydrated. Proper hydration supports digestion and detoxification. We talked about that in the last video, helping your body handle triggers more efficiently. So food sensitivities might not grab the headlines like allergies. People don't really know about them. And in fact, sometimes when people talk to me, they've come to me, they say, oh yeah, we're going to do a food allergy test. A food allergy test, by the way, is usually a back prick test. They can do it through blood, but they usually just do a back prick test. And my son and I, my older son, when he was, I'm not even sure what his symptoms were, why I took him, but we both went to the dermatologist at 𝐬𝐻 when we were in California, and we had allergy tests done, both of us, and neither one of us had an allergy. But when you do food sensitivity tests, again, I wasn't lit up like a Christmas tree, but there were several things that I needed to consider, and you need a test every so often. Now it's been a long time, but if you test every year or something, you can see, okay, have you shifted? And you're like, oh yeah, I started eating a lot of those. So one of the best things to take away too is variety. You want as much variety in your food. And I'm the worst person to give that advice because I am I'll eat the same thing every day. My husband's he's the one that will find 5 ingredients in the refrigerator and make a masterpiece out of them. I'm like, how did you do that? I'm not really like that. However, it comes at a cost, okay? When you don't eat a lot of variety and you are eating the same things, you can be causing your own food sensitivities. And of course, variety is when you're putting more, especially spices. If you add a lot of organic spices to your food, you're going to increase your likelihood of having anti-inflammatory effects. All right, so if you found this video helpful, I would appreciate it if you like and share it with others. And don't forget to subscribe for more tips on brain health and learning. If you want to learn the exact nutrients that you need in order to optimize brain health and function, check out my workshop, Feed Your Brain. I'm going to have a link to that in the description below. All right, so take care, and I will see you in the next video.